All right, so this video is about how to have an online written discussion of the assigned reading for the LCS class on Immigrant Narratives. Because we can't all get together and sit down in one room and just talk out loud so that everybody can hear each other, we're going to have to do things a little bit differently now to have a good discussion of the text that you're assigned. So what is going to happen is that I'm going to email you all Google Docs. And at the top of each Google Doc, there will be a question about the reading. And every week, you're going to be expected to do two things. You're going to be expected to answer one of those questions yourself in your own words, your own ideas about how to answer it. And you're also going to respond to what your classmates said underneath one of the other questions. So this probably sounds a little bit complicated, but I'm going to show you how it works so that it's clearer. So here's the email that's like the email that I'm sending out to you all, okay? And it's about the text Untersachen, which was the graphic novel that we discussed this past week. So as you can see, it says to answer one of the questions yourself and then respond to something your classmates said under the other question. And here are the two questions for Untersachen. One question: what's the similarity between the experience of immigrants in Untersachen 100 years ago in New York City and the experience of immigrants today? The other question is, in the graphic novel Untersachen, what is something that is expected of one gender that isn't expected of another? In other words, what does the text show us about the different gender roles for men and women? And then you can see that there are links to two different Google Docs, one for each of the questions. So, first I'm going to decide, okay, which of these questions am I going to answer myself? So I'm going to go to this question. I'm going to click on the link. It takes me to the Google Doc. And at the top of the Google Doc is the professor's question. What's the similarity between the experience of immigrants in the graphic novel and the experience of immigrants today? And then it explains again what you're supposed to do. Below, you need to answer this question yourself or respond to one of your classmates' points by explaining why you agree or disagree with your classmate's point, or adding your own point that is related to your classmate's point. It says to mention the name of the classmate you were responding to at the beginning of your response, also to write at least 4 sentences, and remember to write your own name at the end of your response. So, there's the question, and then somebody has already written an answer. My classmate George has already written an answer. One similarity between then and now is that immigrants often start their own small business to earn their living. We can see that the girl's mother owns her own shop where she makes dresses for women. We know it's her shop because she says the girls will run it eventually, and we also know she makes enough money to support her family even though her husband doesn't work. She says he just sits in a cafe all day. Similarly, many immigrants today start small businesses like restaurants, convenience stores, and so on. Okay, so that's what my classmate George had to say. Now, I want to have my own original answer to the question. I'm not going to just say the same thing as George because there's no point to that. Anyway, there are other similarities, so I don't have to say the same thing as he said. So, what am I going to write about? A similarity between the experience of immigrants 100 years ago and the experience of immigrants today. Well, I have an idea. Another similarity is that immigrants often live in close proximity to each other. In Untersachen, the characters live in a neighborhood full of other Jewish immigrants from Europe. This is clear because they all mix in little bits of Yiddish in their English. Because Yiddish is the language they spoke in the old country. Similarly, immigrants today often live in neighborhoods with other immigrants from the same country. And speak their original languages together. In Boston, for instance, there's Chinatown or East Boston, where many people from Mexico live, or places in Malden with lots of Brazilian families. So I didn't need to put my classmate George's name in my own response because I wasn't responding to him, I'm just responding to my teacher's question about a similarity. But I do need to put my own name so it's clear who I am. So I'm going to say that my name is Donia. I'm one of the students in the class. Now let me make sure that I've written enough sentences. Have I written at least 4? There's 1 sentence, and there's 2 sentences, and there's 3 sentences, and there's 4 sentences. Okay, so I've written 4 sentences that respond to my teacher's question about a similarity from the past with the experience of immigrants today. Now, I also need to respond to one of my to somebody else's question. So what is something that is expected of one gender that isn't expected of another? Let's click on that link and go to that Google Doc. Now this time I'm not going to be answering my teacher's question, I'm going to be responding to something a classmate said. So my teacher asked about different gender roles between men and women in the text. And by the way, it's very important, your answers have to be about the text, okay? You have to find examples in the text. You don't want to just talk only about your own experiences. Maybe you can talk about your own experiences, but you always need to connect it to the assigned reading, to the text in a specific way. So, one of my classmates, Juana, said, one difference between gender roles in the text is that women are expected to marry and take care of their family inside the home. We see this in what the girl's mother says and does. She doesn't send her daughters to school because she says they don't need that to take care of their husband and children. The mother also makes the girls take care of their little sister and help with the cooking because housework is the only thing that matters. And then another classmate, I'm going to say, I forgot to write this before, but this is from my classmate George. My classmate George said, another difference between expectations for men and women is that young women are expected to look good, maybe partly to attract a husband. In the shop, the customer being measured says, he likes the bands very tight. The customer doesn't say who he is, but maybe he's her husband or boyfriend, and that's why his opinion of her clothing matters. Then she says that one of the daughters is pretty, and the girl's mother says that she isn't that pretty, but she'll still find a good match for the girl. So society seems to emphasize the attractiveness of girls and women because that's how they attract a man. Interesting. Okay, now which one am I going to respond to? Well, I think I'm going to respond to this first thing that my classmate Juana said. I partly agree with her, but I don't agree with her all the way. So I'm going to write a response, and I'm going to make it clear whom I'm responding to by putting her name in my response. I partly agree with Juana, but I partly disagree. It's true that the text shows the mother, shows that women are expected to look after their families, but that doesn't only mean housework. Because Juana said that housework is the only thing that matters. Yes, the girls look after their sister and help with the cooking, but the mother runs her own business. So she also does work outside the home. Also, not everyone has the same expectations of girls. Bronya, the lady doctor, says that the girls do need to learn to read. So she disagrees with the girl's mother. And I've got to remember to put my name, Donya. All right, let me make sure that I've written enough sentences. 1 sentence, 2 sentence, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I wrote more than 4. That's all right. And since I was responding to Juana, I made sure that I wrote Juana's name at the beginning of my response, so it was clear who I was responding to. Okay? So even though George's response is in between mine and Juana's, still you can see that I'm responding to Juana. So it's more like a conversation, right? It's going back and forth, and different people are responding to what other people said. So now I've written a response to one of my classmates, what they wrote, and I've also written my own response to one of the professor's questions. And that's all I need to do to finish the reading discussion assignment for this week in Immigrant Narratives. All right, I hope that's all clear to you.